MVP returned to Monday Night Raw following his shock appearance at the Royal Rumble back in January. Over the past few months, Montel Vontavious Portel had been out to recruit any WWE star who would listen in the hopes that he can create a new stable that will control Monday Night Raw. MVP managed to take Bobby Lashley under his wing by promising him the WWE Championship, but he came up short against Drew McIntyre. The likes of Alexander and Apollo Crews have turned his services down in the past few weeks, which led to Lashley attacking Crews and locking in the full Nelson. Since the attacks, Crews hasn't been seen on WWE TV, so MVP unveiled a new United States Championship and claimed it as his own. It was only as part of the horror show at Extreme Rules that the United States Championship match was set to take place. But since Crews wasn't in attendance for the show due to his COVID-19 test, MVP was named the new championship via forfeit. Dean Ambrose was one of the most entertaining WWE superstars of this generation. One of the most entertaining moments came when he was in a feud with Seth Rollins. The two men collided back in 2015 for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Dean thought he had won the match before the official announcement, because of an earlier infractions from Seth. The match had actually ended via disqualification, which meant that the Architect retained his title. Dean Ambrose had seen enough and decided that he had deserved to win the championship, so he took the title that wasn't his, and left the arena. This then led to a match between Ambrose and Rollins at Money in the Bank the following month. Rollins was able to come out on top and regain his WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Ambrose refused to give Rollins his championship back, and instead opted to play pranks on his former Shield tag team partner whenever he was able to. The Great Khali was an unstoppable force when he first came to WWE, a force that was only halted by The Undertaker in a Last Man Standing match a few years later. Khali stepped into a feud with John Cena back in 2007 and the two men were set for a battle at Judgment Day. Interestingly, given the fact that the Great Khali was big enough to do whatever he wants, he walked down to the ring a few days before the show and took his WWE title. John Cena tried to stop Khali but he was knocked out. There was no one who could stop Khali from claiming the title, and the following week on Raw when John Cena looked to reclaim his property, he was once again beaten by Khali at the backstage. This then led to Khali walking into their match at Judgment Day with the title over his shoulders. In the end it was John Cena who did the talking when the fight was officially and managed to defeat the Punjabi Nightmare by submission to return his WWE Championship. The WWE Universe watched in shock on Sunday night when Sasha Banks and Bayley stole Asuka's WWE Championship as part of a plan from the duo at Extreme Rules. Banks was challenging Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship before Asuka accidentally spat green mist in the referee's face. Bayley then hit Asuka with the championship belt and the referee was unable to make a count. Bayley then took the referee's shirt and made the count herself before declaring Banks as the new Raw Women's Champion, even though Bayley didn't have the power to make it official. Banks took the Raw Women's Championship. WWE Chief Brand Officer Stephanie McMahon stated that Banks wasn't the rightful champion. McMahon went on to explain that because neither woman won the title match at the Extreme Rules, there will be a Women's Championship match the following week on Raw to crown the rightful champion. CM Punk's 434 WWE Championship reign is memorable for a number of reasons, one of those being the fact that it came to an end at the hands of The Rock. That championship win put into motion the match between The Rock and John Cena at WrestleMania 29, which John Cena came out at the top. CM Punk obviously wasn't happy about his loss at the Royal Rumble, which led to the former champion coming out on an episode of Raw, hitting The Rock with a GTS and taking his WWE Championship. Of course Punk didn't legally win the title, he just stole it. Punk even had the audacity to walk into their rematch at Elimination Chamber with the WWE Championship, even though it was carried by his manager, Paul Heyman. Punk wasn't able to win back his title, and as noted, The Rock went on to the main event WrestleMania with John Cena since he was the rightful WWE Championship at that time. Punk faced The Undertaker at WrestleMania instead, then he left the WWE a few years later.